Welcome viewers. Today the topic of our discussion is bacterial endotoxins. Now it has a very important role in various diseases. For example, you have heard of septic shocks, you have heard of meningococemia, you have heard of common fevers which actually happens because of bacterial infection. And these bacteria release some toxins, and because of the toxins the catastrophic effects are seen. So let's discuss about these bacterial toxins and their role in infection. Now the discussion has been broadly divided into different subtopics. For example, the bacterial toxins and toxigenesis, endotoxins and chemical nature, LPS and virulence of gram-negative bacteria, the assays to detect endotoxins, mechanism of action of endotoxins and endotoxins in human diseases, and lastly I will discuss about endotoxin-like molecules which also have a very important role in human diseases. Now coming to the bacterial toxins, these are released by the bacteria or they are present inside the bacteria as a component of the bacteria, and once they are released they cause the diseases. Now chemically the bacterial toxins can be categorized into exotoxins and endotoxins. So what are exotoxins? Exotoxins are those toxins or small molecules which are being released by the bacteria which causes its effect in the host, and endotoxins are present in the cell wall of the bacteria, and when they are released from the cell wall after they infect the organism, they have its own effect. There are some molecules like lipoteichoic acids which are endotoxin-like molecules. They may not be present in gram-negative bacteria which are characterized with endotoxin releases, but they are present in gram-positive bacteria. As you see, in the lipoteichoic acid is present in the cell wall of gram-positive bacteria, and these actually result in various infections. So in today's discussion, we will broadly focus on endotoxin and the endotoxin-like molecules. Now coming to the bacterial endotoxin, this term was first coined by Richard Pfeiffer in 1890s, and he was a student of Robert Koch, the very important Koch's postulates you know about. These are mainly produced in gram-negative bacteria, and they are mostly lipopolysaccharide or lipooligosaccharide in nature. Now coming to the chemical nature of endotoxin, I should stress the point that endotoxins are actually 10 kD molecules, but they form aggregates, and the aggregates can go up to 500 kilodaltons. Now if you look at the structure of the endotoxin, it has three regions. First, the lipid A region, which is made up of two molecules of N-acetylglucosamine. They are attached to the core polysaccharide and the O antigen. The lipid A region, because they are made up of the N-acetylglucosamine and along with fatty acids, they are actually the hydrophobic in nature and they can insert into the cell membrane or the cell wall. To it is attached the core region, which are also polysaccharide in nature. They are actually attached to the sixth position of the N-acetylglucosamine and consist of sugar residues like glucose, galactose, and some unusual sugars like heptose and 2-keto 3-deoxyoctanoic acids. Now these O polysaccharides are again linked to these core regions, and the importance of the O polysaccharide are that they actually make some antigenic determinant, that is the regions to which antibodies can bind. So if we have some specific sequences of O polysaccharide, then we can raise antibodies against these specific regions. Next, I will discuss about the importance of the lipopolysaccharides and their role in virulence. So that we know from this discussion till now that the lipopolysaccharides are mainly made up of the lipid A region, the core polysaccharide, and the O region. Now the O region is very important because it is hydrophilic in nature, so it can dissolve in water or polar solvents, as well as it can help the bacteria adhere to the host cells. Furthermore, the presence of this smooth O region allow resistance to phagocytosis so that they can evade phagocytosis and go into the host cells, and the O polysaccharide acts as water soluble carrier, and they also gives protection against antigen or antibody complements. The LPS, which is the lipid A, which forms the hydrophobic region, has other physiological activity. The first and the most important of it being that it gives pathophysiological reaction. It can stimulate the host immune system. It can lead to the production of cytokines. It can lead to activation of the coagulation cascade. For example, complements like C3A or C5A may be activated. And lastly, it can stimulate the differentiation of B cells to form IgG and IgM. So the next question is, can we detect the presence of endotoxins? The answer is yes. There are assays by means of which we can even detect small amount of endotoxins which can be present in the infected host. How? The name of the assay is Limulus amoebocyte lysate assay. This is actually derived from horseshoe crab, and these amoebocytes are present in horseshoe crab, and we can take it out. And the importance of this is when a cell is injected with an endotoxin, this endotoxin leads to release of coagulating factors from the amoebocytes, and these coagulation factors result in downstream cascade of events which forms the basis of the assay. So let's go through it step by step. The first step is there is a factor C. This in presence of the endotoxin, the proenzyme C or the factor C is activated, and this have a protease activity. Now, there are some synthetic peptides which are present on which the protease acts, and due to which nitrophenylalanine is produced, and this nitroaniline, which is produced, or PNA, has its absorbance at 405 nanometer and can be spectroscopically detected, because of which we can detect the presence of endotoxin, and one can actually make a graph of absorbance versus the amount of endotoxin and can get the concentration of endotoxin which is being present. Next, we come to the mechanism of action of endotoxin, and one need to understand this mechanism to know the effects which is being observed in day-to-day life. The first and most important aspect, the bacteria, which are the gram-negative bacteria, comes or infects the host cells. When the cell wall dissolves, the LPS are released. Now, one can also release the LPS by dissolving the cell wall by 45% phenol at high temperature, and then add some detergent to take out the lipid A. Now, once this LPS comes out, it can interact with proteins which are present in the cell known as the LPS binding protein. And these LPS binding protein and the LPS as a complex grow, and these are recognized by the CD14 residues which are present on the macrophages. Now, once it interacts with the CD14 residues, then it can trigger the release of different cytokines as well as the tumor necrosis factor. And we know that the cytokines and the tumor necrosis factor, it regulates a cascade of events due to which various inflammatory responses can be seen once endotoxin is injected. So let's go one by one about the various diseases and the mechanism which is present due to injection of endotoxin. Let's first take the case of fever due to infection with gram-negative bacteria. Now, why does it happen? It happens because, as you see in this figure, the bacteria is the LPS is being engulfed by macrophages. It interacts with the CD14. The cytokines are released into the blood vessels. The blood carries it to the hypothalamus of the brain, and there is release of prostaglandin, which leads to development of fever. The second point, it also is seen to alter iron uptake. That is, what is present is in the cell, the amount of iron is less, though in the intestine, the amount of iron is more. Now, why does it happen? It happens because there is an alteration in the ratio of mucosal ferritin versus transferrin. Ferritin is a molecule which will catch those iron, and transferrin which will transfer it to the bloodstream or give it to the cells after absorption. Now, because of endotoxin and because of cytokines and the other factor releases, it alters this ratio leading to more iron in the intestine and less in the blood or in the cells. The second point, it leads to development of hypoglycemia. So what is it? This is amount of blood sugar or amount of sugar goes less. Now why does it happen? It happens because the liver is not functioning properly because of endotoxin infection, and it leads to low rate of hepatic glucose production. The third disease is endotoxic shock, and that is one of the most common diseases which is seen or observed in case of such infections, and this result in septicemia, and the inflammatory responses happens due to production of the interleukins and the tumor necrosis factors. The fourth thing is the LPS also decreases polymorpholeukocyte, and this leads to pulmonary edema. So what is pulmonary edema? Pulmonary edema is accumulation of fluid in lungs, and see, for all of these disease, the starting point is infection of endotoxin and then its interaction with the lipopolysaccharide binding protein and corresponding trigger to produce the interleukins or the different types of cytokines as well as the tumor necrosis factor. Similarly, endotoxin can lead to hypersensitivity as well as asthma. Now, while coming to asthma, I should focus on one important point, that asthma does not readily develop once we inject endotoxin in children. Rather, it will give them immunity for the whole life. However, when endotoxin is injected in an adult, it leads to development of various complications, one of them being hypotension, one of them being vasodilation, and another is hypoglycemia, along with the various syndromes which is associated with normal asthma. So we can see that even small medical symptoms which can be caused by endotoxin. The next disease is sepsis, septic shock, or systemic inflammatory response syndrome, or the SARS. Now what are these? The systemic inflammatory response syndrome is inflammation of different regions of the body, or even the blood vessels can get inflamed due to vasodilation, but without any cause. Now sepsis the cause is SARS, but some infection is causing it, and septic shock is a state where sepsis occurs due to gram-negative bacterial infection, that is endotoxin being present, and this sepsis gives rise to a shock, that is it creates different pathological condition so that the patient goes in a condition of shock. The next important disease is meningococemia. Now this is caused by another gram-negative organism which leads to the delivery of the endotoxins, and correspondingly we have the infection because of the release of cytokines and the tumor necrosis factor. Another important human disease which is caused by bacterial endotoxin is inflammatory bowel disease. Now what is happening? If you look at the picture, you will see a certain region of the intestine get inflamed. Now when these bacteria infects the intestine and get dissolved in the intestine, it releases the lipopolysaccharide. The lipopolysaccharide leads to a cascade of downstream event due to which this inflammation happens. The next one is neonatal necrotizing enterocolitis. Now this is peculiar condition and very pathetic condition which happens in infants, where the injection of the enterotoxin, and I am using the term injection, I mean that is they are injected because they are being infected by the corresponding gram-negative microorganism, and this leads to develop a shrinking of the intestine and corresponding necrosis at certain region, due to which you can see that there are various points where necrosis has happened, and at the end of the result is that the patient might die. Furthermore, endotoxin has been associated with as a cause of acute pancreatitis, liver diseases, and cystic fibrosis. But I should mention here that not endotoxin alone is the cause. Here there are other causes, but endotoxin have a further effect on this, so that it goes to a catastrophic ending. Now, coming to the bacterial toxin in human diseases, we can actually see that endotoxin can affect cancer patients. Now, if you ask me why, the reason is that once a cancer patient goes for chemotherapy or some other types of therapy, he is immunocompromised. And in such immunocompromised situation, these patients are more prone to gram-negative bacterial infections, which leads to corresponding effect by endotoxin, and they can develop various syndromes and can be fatal also. Elevated levels of endotoxins is also associated with liver diseases as well as cystic fibrosis, as I have just told you. Now, the next question is, how do you treat endotoxin infections? Now, we can treat these endotoxin infections at different levels. The first level, we can attack the syndromes. That is, I have a fever, you give me some medicines for fever. But that is not attacking the endotoxin. Now, if you want to attack the endotoxin, we have to have antibodies against such endotoxins, and there can be anti-LPS antibodies which are mostly against the O regions which we discussed in the LPS structure. However, the problem is the O region is not constant, and they can vary from species to species and from different types of endotoxins, and correspondingly the effect of such therapy might be short term or might be very specific. Next is the inhibition of the lipopolysaccharide binding protein. It has been found that there are different drugs or there are different proteins which can bind to the lipopolysaccharide binding protein, and because of such binding, it prevents the interaction of the lipopolysaccharide, that is the main component of the endotoxin, with such proteins. So if the endotoxins are not allowed to bind to the protein, correspondingly the downstream signals will not be activated and you can stop the disease. And there are some lipopolysaccharide neutralizing proteins which are being tried out, which will come to market maybe pretty soon. Some are already in a very last stages of trials, where they can interact with the lipopolysaccharide, and they can neutralize the O saccharide, all the lipid A region, so that the infection chain is prevented. Now, it's time to talk about another very important molecule, which is the endotoxin-like molecule. Now, I should categorically tell you that unlike endotoxin, these endotoxin-like molecules are not present in gram-negative bacteria, but are present in gram-positive bacteria, which are major sources of exotoxins. Now, one of such example is lipoteichoic acid, or LTA, and these are present in walls of gram-positive bacteria. Chemically, the lipoteichoic acid is a glycerol phosphate surface polymer, and it can similar to the endotoxin, and that's why they are known as endotoxin-like molecules. They can bind to CD14 and trigger the toll-like receptors, and so the diseases which were associated with endotoxins like inflammation, arthritis, meningitis or meningococcemia can also be caused by lipoteichoic acids. We have discussed about endotoxins and why they may be present. We have discussed about the chemical nature of endotoxins, its types, importance of various regions of endotoxin, the mode of action, and I should again stress that it actually activates the immune cascade, and because of interleukins and the tumor necrosis factor, most of the corresponding effects are being observed. And human diseases we have discussed, which can be caused by endotoxin, or diseases which are there but they can become more enhanced because of the presence of endotoxins. And lastly, we have discussed about endotoxin-like molecules like lipoteichoic acid, which are present in gram-positive bacteria, which also may lead to similar type of diseases. Thank you for your attention.